Ladies and gentlemen, they'll try to convince you you're not strong enough, that the weight of this world, the pressure, the doubt, the noise, it's all too much for one person to bear. But they're wrong, deeply, completely wrong. Because the truth is, your strength doesn't come from the silence of the world around you. It comes from the fire inside you. You've been through storms, you faced darkness, and yet here you are, standing, breathing, pushing forward. Every person has their beginning, a moment where the world seems too big, the problems too heavy, the way forward too unclear. But in those very moments, something greater begins to stir resilience. It's that quiet decision you make when you get knocked down and still get back up. It's the choice to keep walking when your legs are shaking, and that strength is already inside you. You've just got to remember how to find it. Picture this, you're in the middle of a raging storm. The wind is screaming in your ears. Rain slices through the air like sharp glass. But there you are, not running, not hiding, not broken. You're standing, and not just standing unmoved. That's not just bravery, that's power. That's what it means to decide that no matter how loud the world gets, it doesn't get to define you. The storms of life will come. People will talk. Circumstances will shift. Doubt will creep in, disguised as truth. But here's the secret: none of that has the power to break you unless you allow it to. When you make the decision that you won't be shaken, that you won't be defined by the noise, something incredible happens. The storm becomes background static. The words lose their sting. You become the storm's silence to calm in the chaos. There's a moment, a small and powerful space between what happens to you and how you respond. And in that space is your greatest weapon, choice. Most people never even realize it's there. They react on autopilot, surrendering their control to emotion, to circumstance, to others. But not you. You're different. You're learning how to see the gap, to step into it, and choose your response with purpose. This space, this invisible breath between action and reaction, is where your power lives. Imagine you're criticized in front of others. Most would feel the sting, feel their temperature rise, the need to lash out or defend. But you pause, you wait. You see that gap for what it is, a door to your strength, and you choose not to react with ego, but with clarity. Not to fight fire with fire, but to respond in a way that serves your vision. This isn't just self-control, it's self-mastery. You begin to recognize that your life is not determined by what happens to you, but by what you decide to do with it. That little space between stimulus and response becomes the arena in which your freedom is forged. And every time you choose wisely, your strength grows. It's a muscle like any other. At first, it feels unfamiliar. You'll mess up. You'll react. But each time you catch yourself, each time you pause and breathe and choose, you win. You become more powerful, not in the way the world defines power, but in the way that actually changes lives. Quiet, centered, unshaken. Your life starts to change, not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. You stopped being controlled by what happens outside, and you started owning what happens inside. That's real power. That's real freedom. That's the beginning of living on your own terms. Because here's the thing, when you finally get tired of being pulled in every direction by what other people think, say, or expect, you start building your own foundation. You start defining yourself not by their labels or their doubts, but by your own truth. It's not easy. The world will always have something to say about who you should be. But when your foundation is built from the inside out, that noise, it can't reach you. You become grounded, rooted, sure. You stop living in the shadows of others' expectations and start walking in the light of your own vision. This isn't about arrogance. It's not about pretending the world doesn't exist. It's about knowing deeply and completely that your worth does not come from outside validation. You don't need applause to feel whole. You don't need permission to be powerful. You've already got everything you need. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. You just need to live it quietly, consistently, purposefully. That's how you build the wall that protects your identity, not a wall that shuts people out, but one that keeps your truth in. One that holds your values, your mission, your clarity like a fortress. When someone questions your path, you won't stumble. When someone tries to tear you down, you won't crumble, because you've already decided who you are. And that decision doesn't change with the weather. Some will say you've changed. Some will say you've lost touch. But the truth is, you've just found your center. You've stopped being a mirror for other people's opinions and started becoming a reflection of your purpose. You've chosen to be the author of your story. And in a world that's constantly trying to rewrite your narrative, that choice is everything. You've taken the first step. You've recognized the storm, stood still, and chosen to be unmoved. But this is only the beginning, because the moment you take that control, the world begins to shift. And you're about to learn that your power runs even deeper than you ever imagined. Now that you've begun to reclaim your space in the chaos, the next challenge is not to hold on to it, but to strengthen it. Because once you've discovered that inner place where your power lives, life will test how committed you are to protecting it. That's when the noise grows louder. That's when the opinions multiply. That's when distractions show up wearing masks that look like opportunities. And the question becomes, will you be swayed, or will you stay rooted in what you know to be true? To live unshaken isn't just about surviving storms, it's about being able to see clearly through the fog. And clarity starts with learning to separate what matters from what doesn't. You've heard 1,000 voices today, maybe even just this morning. Some tried to motivate you. Some tried to doubt you. And most of them, just noise, useless clutter taking up space in your head. So, how do you know the difference? How do you know what to keep and what to let go? It starts with asking one question. Does this help me grow? If the answer is no, it doesn't deserve a place in your mind. Because your energy, your focus, your time, they are all limited. And if you waste them on voices that aren't helping you rise, then you're handing over your power for free. Some people speak from love, others speak from fear, but not every voice deserves a reaction. Not every whisper requires your attention. The truth is, most people who criticize you aren't really talking about you. They're revealing their own limitations, their own fears, their own discomfort with growth. You don't have time to carry their burdens. You're on a mission that demands your full attention. And on this journey, clarity is survival. You have to know where you're going. You have to know who you are. Because if you don't, the world will try to decide it for you. It will try to tell you that you're too much or not enough, too loud, too quiet, too ambitious, too different. And if you're not anchored in your purpose, you start to believe it. But not you, not anymore. You've learned to listen carefully, to tune your ear to the signal and ignore the noise. You've learned that the opinions of others don't define your truth. Your actions do. Your mindset does. The way you show up in silence when no one's watching does. And here's the beauty of it. Once you stop chasing approval, you start creating results. There's a freedom that comes when you stop needing validation. It's like stepping out of a cage you didn't even realize you were in. And with that freedom comes responsibility, the responsibility to keep choosing your path even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You see, growth never comes without friction. If you're doing it right, you will feel resistance. That's not a sign to quit. That's confirmation you're moving forward. Every obstacle is evidence that you're pushing against the limits of your old life. Every challenge is proof that you're walking into something new, something greater. But only if you don't let it stop you. And this is where most people fall. They meet resistance and they call it failure. They face opposition and they think it means they're doing something wrong. But you're different. You're learning to use opposition as fuel. When someone doubts you, you use it as a reason to double down. When someone criticizes, you use it to sharpen your focus. When life closes a door, you build a door frame from the bricks they threw at you. This isn't fantasy, this is mindset. This is what separates those who live in frustration from those who live in purpose. The difference is not talent, it's not resources, it's not luck, it's choice. When something goes wrong, do you complain or do you adapt? When you fall, do you stay down or do you rise stronger? When the world says you can't, do you listen or do you get louder? Your answer to these questions determines everything. Because here's the truth. Life is not waiting for the perfect moment. Life is happening now. Growth doesn't wait for permission. Neither should you. You've got something inside you that no one else has. A fire, a voice, a vision. And if you don't bring it to life, the world misses out. You miss out. But when you stop letting others decide what's possible for you, you start becoming who you were meant to be, fully, fiercely, without apology. And the best part, once you realize that every challenge is a stepping stone, you stop fearing failure. You stop being scared of judgment because you know it's all just part of the process. You begin to embrace the resistance. You start to expect the discomfort because you understand it's shaping you into someone more powerful than you were yesterday. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. One choice at a time, one decision at a time. One moment of discipline stacked on top of another. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you become unbreakable. But remember that strength without purpose is just ego. You're not just building resilience so you can say you're tough. You're building it so you can live with intention, so you can serve, so you can create, so you can lead others who are still stuck in the storm you've already walked through. You don't rise alone. Every time you choose to keep going, even when it's hard, you light the path for someone else, someone who's watching, quietly, hoping they're not alone. And when they see you rise, they start to believe they can too. So, keep rising. The journey is just beginning. The foundation has been set. The clarity is coming into focus. And now, you're ready to go even deeper. Because what's coming next will demand everything from you, and it will give back more than you can imagine. Now that you've found your voice through the chaos and strengthened your purpose, it's time to face what most people run from, the mirror. Not the one that reflects your face, but the one that reflects your choices, your discipline, your habits. That mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It shows you who you are becoming. And if you're brave enough to look closely, it also shows who you could be. There's a harsh truth that sets in when you start walking this path. Not everything and not everyone can come with you. The version of you that stays up too late, that scrolls mindlessly, that procrastinates on dreams, that version doesn't get to survive in the life you're building. It's not punishment, it's evolution. Because to go where you're going, to become the person you're meant to be, something has to die, and that something is comfort. Comfort is a liar. It whispers in your ear, you're fine where you are. It says you've done enough for today. It tells you that discipline can wait until tomorrow. Well, what comfort never tells you is that it's costing you everything. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you pay in a regret. Every time you say later to something that matters, you steal from your future self. And eventually, if you keep borrowing from tomorrow, you'll wake up in a life you didn't want, built from choices you didn't realize you were making. But not you, not anymore. Because you've seen what's possible. You felt the power of clarity. And now it's time to go deeper into the work, the real work, the kind that happens when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when it's just you and the decision to keep showing up. This is the season where your discipline becomes your best friend. It's not motivation that would get you through, it's commitment. Discipline is what gets you out of bed when the fire isn't burning. It's what pulls you forward when your feet are dragging. It's what builds momentum when everything inside you says slow down or give up. And it all starts with one decision: to stop negotiating with your excuses. Excuses are clever. They wear the mask of logic. They sound like, I don't have time, or I'm too tired, or it won't make a difference. But every excuse is just a small surrender, a quiet retreat from your potential. What if you stopped retreating? What if you started asking more from yourself, not in a way that breaks you, but in a way that builds you? You don't need to make giant leaps. You need consistency. You need repetition. You need to show up every single day for the life you say you want. You don't rise by doing extraordinary things once. You rise by doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. Wake up earlier than you want to. Study longer than you feel like. Train harder than what's comfortable. Speak your truth even when your voice shakes. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The old version of you, the one that settled, the one that waited, the one that doubted, is already fading. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, you step into the person you were born to be. There will be days you want to quit. Days when everything feels heavy. Days when progress feels invisible. But remember this, you are not planting seeds for today's harvest. You are planting them for the future that's already calling your name. Growth doesn't shout, it whispers. It says, keep going. It says, this matters. And if you listen closely enough, you'll start to believe it. You'll start to see results, not just on the outside, but deep within. You'll walk differently, speak differently. You'll move with quiet confidence, not because you're perfect, but because you've been through the fire and chose to keep going. There's a line you cross when you stop needing the world to validate your efforts. When you stop looking for approval and start chasing mastery, that's when you become dangerous, not to others, but to every excuse and limitation that ever tried to hold you back. That's when you stop surviving and start leading. People will notice. Some will support you, some won't understand, and that's okay. Your job is not to convince the world. Your job is to become undeniable. Let your actions speak so loudly that no one can question your dedication. Keep showing up. Keep putting in the reps. When you feel like quitting, remember why you started. When your muscles burn, when your mind says stop, remind yourself, this is the process. This is the price, and it is worth every ounce of effort. Because on the other side of discipline is freedom. The freedom to walk into any room and know you've done the work. The freedom to chase your dreams without dragging the weight of regret behind you. The freedom to live on your terms, not dictated by fear or doubt. Every day is a test, not of your skill, but of your will. And the question is the same every time. Will you show up? Will you be stronger than your excuses? Will you be louder than your doubts? Will you be more loyal to your future than your past? The choice is yours. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast the vote for the person you are becoming. You cast a vote for strength, for excellence, for greatness. And the more votes you cast, the more unstoppable you become. This is not just a motivational moment. This is a new standard, a new identity, and it starts with what you do next. Because you're not done yet. You're just warming up. You've stepped out of your comfort. You've confronted the excuses. You've built discipline. But now comes the part that defines champions, the moment when things don't go as planned, when your effort doesn't bring instant results, when you give your all and still fall short. This is the part most people avoid, but this is where transformation happens. See, anyone can say committed when the path is smooth. Anyone can feel strong when everything's working. But what about when you give 100% and still get knocked down? What about when the plan doesn't work, when your progress feels invisible and your energy is running low? That's when the real decision is made. That's when you ask yourself, am I doing this because it's easy or because it's worth it? You will be tested, not once, not twice constantly. Life will ask you, how bad do you want this? And you won't answer with words. You'll answer with actions. When it's hard, will you keep going? When no one claps, will you still grind? When you're tired, will you still show up? If the answer is yes, then understand this. Setbacks are not signs that you're failing. They're signals that you're stretching. They're part of the process, not a break in the process. Too many people hit a wall and turn back. But the wall isn't there to stop you. It's there to see who has the courage to climb, who has the strength to keep going, who has the patience to keep showing up even when it's quiet, even when it's lonely, even when it hurts. That's where transformation lives, in the pain most people run from. You're going to fall. You're going to fail. But that's not the end. That's the middle. The only way it becomes the end is if you quit. And you didn't come this far just to walk away when it gets real. Let the fall teach you something. Let the failure sharpen you. Every time you rise again, you're not starting over. You're starting stronger. You carry experience, wisdom, grit that you didn't have before. And that's what separates those who dream from those who build. Dreamers think about the outcome. Builders stay focused on the next brick. They don't get lost in the vision. They're too busy laying the foundation, day by day, breath by breath. They know that consistency creates greatness, not hype, not talent, not luck. But it gets deeper. Because the longer you walk this path, the more you realize the real battle isn't around you, it's within you. Your mind is the arena. And if you don't master it, it will master you. Doubt doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you to rest when you need to rise. It tells you you're not ready, even when you are. It tells you what you can't do, dressed up as logic and reason. And that's why you have to train your mind the way you train your body. Feed it discipline. Challenge it daily. Starve the fear. Strengthen the focus. Because whatever you allow to grow inside your mind will show up in your life. Start planting what you want to see. Plant belief. Plant resilience. Plant self-respect. And water it daily with repetition, with consistency, with habits that align with your vision. This isn't hype. This is reality. You become what you repeat. And the most dangerous belief you can have is that you're powerless, that your situation defines you, that you're stuck, that things will never change. Nothing could be further from the truth. You are not a victim of your life. You are the author, and every thought, every decision, every step you take writes a new sentence, a new chapter, a new future. Start writing with intention. When you get tired, write resilience. When you get scared, write courage. When it all seems pointless, write purpose. The pen is still in your hand. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Success is boring. It's repetitive. It's a grind. It's waking up and doing the same thing over and over, even when the excitement wears off. Because the results come after the motivation fades. The transformation happens after the hype dies down. When it's just you, the work, and the voice in your head asking, are you willing to keep going? You've gone too far to let the noise pull you back. You've walked through storms, pushed through setbacks, silenced doubt, and now is when you keep showing up, even when it's quiet. Now is when you lean into the process, not the outcome. Because results are not something you chase. They are something you attract by becoming the person who's ready for them. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, your habits, your discipline. And the sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you take control. You stop looking for motivation and start building structure. You stop waiting for the mood to strike and start acting from principle. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. That's the moment you go from surviving to thriving. Not because life gets, but because you got stronger, more focused, more intentional. And the most powerful version of you isn't born from praise. It's born in silence, in repetition, in struggle, in solitude. When it's just you and your vision fighting for something the world can't yet see. By now, you've walked through the fire. You've stood your ground in storms, silenced the noise, conquered the inner war, and rebuilt your mindset from the ground up. But now comes the most important truth of all the truth that defines your legacy. This is no longer about just surviving or improving. This is about becoming unshakable. And being unshakable is not a result of strength alone. You don't get there by accident. You get there by waking up every single day and choosing it. Choosing to rise even when you're tired. Choosing to focus when your mind wants to wander. Choosing to stay grounded when the world tries to pull you in every direction. You build this strength by doing the boring, uncomfortable, unsexy work that nobody applauds, but that everybody sees when the results show up. You don't become unstoppable when people clap for you. You become unstoppable when nobody's watching and you still refuse to quit. This is where the few separate from the many. Because most people aren't willing to pay the price. They want the reward, but they don't want the responsibility. They want the lifestyle, but not the discipline. They want the respect, but not the sacrifice. And that's why most stay stuck. waiting for motivation that never lasts. But you're different now. You've learned that you don't wait for power. You build it, you create it with your decisions. You build it with your habits. You cement it with your daily grind. Because when you put in the work consistently over time, the world has no choice but to notice. Eventually, the silence turns to respect. The grind becomes legacy. The discipline becomes second nature. And you stop chasing results, you start living them. There's something incredible that happens when you get here. You stop looking over your shoulder. You stop questioning your worth. You stop needing others to validate your path. You begin to live with eternal peace. Not because life got easier, but because you've trained yourself to stay centered no matter what comes your way. This doesn't mean problems vanish. It means you become too focused to be derailed, too steady to be shaken, too alive to be distracted. When setbacks come, and you'll handle them differently. You'll process, adapt, and move. When people criticize you, you listen, filter, and decide what's worth your time. When things fall apart, you'll rebuild better, not bitter. Because that's what power looks like. Quiet, precise, intentional power, not explosive, not desperate. Just real. And when you walk with that kind of power, everything changes. You attract people who move like you. People who think deeper, train harder, and care more. You stop feeling the need to impress. You start feeling the desire to serve. You stop competing for attention. You start leading with value. You stop doubting your ability. You start executing with confidence, not arrogance, just clarity. That clarity becomes your advantage, because while others are busy reacting to life, you're responding to it. While others are playing checkers, you're playing chess. While others wait to feel ready, you move ready or not. That mindset, it's rare. That level of self-control, it's powerful. That inner stillness, it's unstoppable. And yes, there will be days when you forget. Days when the doubt creeps in, when the world feels heavy again, when the voice in your head starts whispering that maybe you've gone far enough. But you'll remember this one truth. Every time you've risen before, it wasn't because everything was perfect. It was because you refused to let anything stop you. That same refusal lies in you now, stronger than ever. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You don't need to explain why you do what you do. You're not here for applause. You're here for impact, for growth, for transformation. And your greatest enemy at this point is no longer weakness. It's distraction. It's losing sight of why you started. It's getting comfortable and slipping back into patterns that no longer serve you. Don't let it happen. Keep your eyes on the long game. Stay disciplined. Protect your mind like it's sacred, because it is. Your thoughts create your world. Your habits create your future. Your focus creates your legacy. And right now, you are writing that legacy word by word, step by step, breath by breath. It's in how you show up when it's inconvenient. It's in how you lead when it's hard. It's in how you continue to believe when there's no proof. Because belief doesn't follow evidence. Evidence follows belief. You're not done yet. You're never done. There's always another level. There is always more to give. But now, you give from power, not desperation. From vision, not fear. And the most incredible part, now you're not just walking this path for yourself. You're walking it for every person who's watching you quietly, hoping that someone like you can prove it's possible. that discipline works, that focus matters, that purpose is real. They're watching and you're showing them the way. So don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't wait for anyone's permission. Keep betting your mind, your body, your focus. Keep mastering your emotions. Keep choosing growth over comfort. Keep standing when the world expects you to fold. Keep walking when others sit. You've already come so far, and everything you've done has prepared you for what comes next. This isn't a phase. This isn't a season. This is who you are now. Unshaken, focused, powerful. You've revoked permission from the world to affect your peace. You've risen above reaction. You've burned your excuses. You've claimed your identity. And starting now, you live like it. Every word you speak, every step you take, every decision you make, let it remind the world you are not easily broken. You are not easily moved. You are unshakable. Now breathe in, stand tall, and keep going. Because the world hasn't even seen your final form yet.